Jack Carter believed he'd finally found a perfect place to slow down. His quiet cabin by the lake was everything he'd worked for after decades in law enforcement. Every peaceful morning felt like a reward. Fishing had become Jack's favorite way to enjoy retirement. Every morning started with silence, fresh air, and the sound of water gently touching the dock. That same morning, a luxury SUV rolled into the neighborhood. Linda Brooks, president of the nearby HOA, had already decided that Jack's cabin belonged in her plans. Linda admired the location, while Tyler couldn't stop talking about how perfect the cabin would be for their family. Neither of them bothered to ask who actually owned it. As Jack returned from the lake, two unfamiliar faces were waiting beside his driveway. Their confident expressions suggested this wasn't going to be a friendly introduction. Linda proudly introduced herself as the HOA president. She immediately began talking about neighborhood standards, as if Jack had already agreed to join. Jack politely explained that his cabin wasn't part of the HOA. He owned the land outright, and there were no association rules that applied to his property. Tyler insisted the cabin would be perfect for his family's summer vacations. He spoke as though wanting something automatically gave him the right to have it. Jack simply smiled and placed his keys on the table beside him. He made it clear that the conversation was over, but Linda refused to accept the answer. Linda demanded that Jack hand over the cabin keys immediately. What she didn't realize was that someone watching the situation recognized Jack from his years serving in law enforcement. Linda's voice echoed across the quiet lake as she demanded the cabin keys. Jack didn't raise his voice. He simply continued enjoying the peaceful afternoon. Tyler claimed his family deserved the cabin more than Jack did. The outrageous demand left several neighbors quietly shaking their heads. Jack calmly picked up the keys and slipped them into his pocket. His relaxed confidence only made Linda even more frustrated. More neighbors began stepping outside to see what all the shouting was about. It didn't take long before the quiet neighborhood became an audience. Linda insisted that her HOA had authority over the entire lake community. Jack simply smiled, knowing exactly what the property records actually said. The arriving deputies weren't responding to an emergency. They had simply noticed a growing crowd and decided to check that everything was all right. As one deputy approached, his expression immediately changed. He recognized Jack as a retired detective who had once mentored him early in his career. The deputy greeted Jack with a warm handshake and thanked him for years of dedicated public service. Linda suddenly realized the situation wasn't unfolding the way she expected. The deputy politely asked Linda to explain why she was demanding someone else's property. Her confident tone quickly became much less certain. Jack presented the official property records confirming he was the sole owner of the cabin. The truth was now clear for everyone to see, and the confrontation had taken a dramatic turn. Jack patiently explained that his cabin had never been part of the HOA. Every document confirmed the property had always remained independent. The deputies carefully reviewed the official records. Within minutes, every detail matched exactly what Jack had been saying from the beginning. The deputies thanked Jack for his cooperation and confirmed there was no dispute over ownership. The facts spoke louder than anyone's opinions. Linda tried one last time to convince the deputies that HOA rules should apply everywhere. The deputy calmly explained that private property rights were clearly protected. The crowd slowly dispersed as the misunderstanding became obvious. Tyler realized that confidence meant very little when the facts said otherwise. With everything settled, Jack returned to exactly what he had been doing before the interruption. Peace had finally returned to the lake. Without another argument, Linda and Tyler quietly left the property. Sometimes walking away is the only reasonable ending to a disagreement. As the sun began to set, Jack reflected on the day's events. He was grateful that staying calm had allowed the truth to speak for itself. The neighborhood returned to its normal routine. The quiet lake once again became a place of relaxation instead of conflict. Jack's lake cabin remained exactly where it belonged. His respect, patience, and the truth had turned a tense confrontation into a lesson the entire neighborhood would remember. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this HOA story, don't forget to subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss another HOA story. And tell us in the comments, where you watching from? We'd love to know.